Sure, so my name is Simon Barlow. I'm Design Director at Evolution Studios, and I'm responsible for the user experience of Driveclub. Driveclub is, at its core, I think, it attempts to recreate that raw emotional connection people have with performance cars, with racing, with you know, just the sheer thrill of taking your dream car out on some of the most incredible roads in the world. And then on top of that, it's this socially connected, you know, racing service, if you like a way for people that are passionate about cars and passionate about racing to get together and share in that experience. We'd been kicking this concept around for like 10 years, and we just not really got to the point where we could realize it. It was only when we started looking at PlayStation 4, when it was first initially unveiled to us, that we thought, well, hey, here's a platform that does all of the things that we wanted to do with Driveclub and makes it easy for us to produce this game now. So we've been quite ambitious with our post-launch strategy. We've decided from the ground up we wanted to make this game a service. We didn't want to create a single game that we launched and then maybe we'd have a couple of DLC packs and that was it. Like, this was always conceived as something that went far beyond just the launch of the game. Like, the launch is really just the beginning of the Driveclub experience. So with the weather system, we basically said, well, what would happen if we added precipitation to this? We've already got a full atmospheric simulation. If we start adding water to it, we add rain and we add snow to it, what happens? It wasn't quite as simple as that. Like, that makes it sound really simple to do. It was a lot of hard work, and we're still working on refining it right now. The gameplay is directly affected by it as well. It's, you know, it's not just puddles fill up and rain hits the windscreen. Like it's so detailed. You can see the water levels in the rivers will rise if it rains heavily. Like, that's how everything is tied together, how everything is connected. And it needs to be that way so that, you know, players are utterly immersed in the experience. The only thing that's different between the PlayStation Plus edition and the retail edition is that the retail edition has more tracks and more cars in it. That's it. But all of the game content, all of the game modes, multiplayer, challenges, tour, single event, like all of that is all in the PlayStation Plus edition. If all you ever do is play the PlayStation Plus edition, you never upgrade, you never buy any DLC, and you just literally play the game for free, that's fine. Like, it's absolutely fine because you're still contributing, you're still part of that community. And that's why it's just so important that we got that out there. This is a real hot topic, the kind of the 60 Hz versus 30 Hz debate. I think a lot of people seem to think that you can't have an accurate racing experience without it being at 60 Hz. Having worked on racing games for over 15 years, I'm not sure that's entirely true. And like, we settled on 30 frames per second for this game because we decided that the visual integrity of the worlds and the vehicles, the immersion in those environments was absolutely paramount, and we weren't going to sacrifice anything, you know, for the sake of that. So we made sure that what we were delivering was utterly immersive. Every subtle detail was accounted for, so that the player, you know, never felt that anything was disjointed in the game experience. If you're trying to recreate what it feels like to race a car, this isn't like simulating the mechanics of racing a car, but actually that raw emotion of racing that car. You have to get the subtle details right, and it has to start really with that visual integrity. That being said, the two key things that really affect the immediacy of vehicle handling isn't necessarily the frame rate. It's actually the controller lag and the physics simulation. If you can, like our physics system, if you've got a 60 frames per second game, chances are your physics system runs at 60 Hz, and that's fine. Our physics system runs at over 300 Hz. And the reason we do that is because the subtle variance in our tyre model, in terms of how the tyres interact with the surface, like that's really where the cars hit the road, that's where the simulation is. You know, that's the bulk of the handling right there. If you run that simulation at multiple times the frame rate, what you're getting is far more detail out of that handling model. But even that's not enough if you've got controller lag, because it's only as good as how quickly the game can translate your inputs to the model itself. So we worked really hard with the controller inputs directly with Sony. We actually had a hand in designing the DualShock 4. We spent so long refining that experience and reducing controller lag to an absolute minimum. And what we found is that even people that were skeptical, even some of the naysayers that have said you can't have an accurate racing game without 60 frames, when they pick up Driveclub, and they realize how responsive it is and how detailed that model is and how much control they have over it, especially if you play with a wheel where you've got direct one-to-one translation between what your hands are doing and what the car is doing. It doesn't matter that it's 30 frames. It is plenty fast enough. If we could push this at 60 frames, we probably would, because why wouldn't you? I personally have a 144 hertz monitor at home on my PC, so I understand the difference that it makes. But I guess from our point of view, it isn't the be-all end-all. It isn't the one defining thing about making vehicle handling accessible and immediate. All of the metagame for Driveclub was a guy called Chris Pope, who did like all of the metagame. All of that, he built simulations inside Excel and other tools to basically, before there was any code committed, like he could basically simulate the metagame structure and refine it and balance it before he'd even implemented it in the game. And that's what we kind of expect of our designers. We hope that there's something for everybody in it. It's an accessible experience. You can pick up a pad and play the game and just enjoy the raw thrill of racing these cars around the tracks. But if you want something more out of it, there's so much depth to the handling and so many different game modes and ways to play and different reward streams in the game that we hope that there's something for everybody in it, and that everybody will will find their own little niche in the game and find their own little game loop that they want to take part in. What I'm really excited about is seeing how the community evolves this game post-launch, because we have some ideas about what we want to do, we have a vision for where we want to take the game, but we've left so much space in that schedule for exploring what the community want and getting the community feedback. So I have no idea what the game is going to look like in 12 months' time. I've got a rough idea, but I don't think I can predict that. And I'm hoping that the community are going to surprise us and inspire us to produce even greater things in Driveclub.